Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another audio visual mini podcast episode of the MFR Coaches Podcast. I am joined today by one of my OG clients, Rachel Pecora. She's the owner of Northeast Ohio Myofascial Release. Rachel, what's up, girl? How are you doing?
Hi, doing well. Glad to be
Awesome.
here
I'm
for like
glad
the
you're here
100th
too.
time.
I know. We were just joking ahead of this that Rachel should probably have some sort of award because she might be the most reoccurring guest I've had. I have a few fan favorites that I have on throughout the time. But I have a special bond with the people that I did one-on-one coaching with because I worked with you guys for so long and I always am curious about what's going on. So let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about what your business was before we started working together, and then give us the full after effect of what's happening now.
Yeah. So I started doing myofascial release just kind of like on my own in like 2019. And I was just kind of playing around with it with clients. I didn't really know what to really do or how to treat clients. I was still doing like traditional massage therapy, but I knew I really had this passion for myofascial release. So I decided I was going to reconfigure my business and become a myofascial release business at some point. And I got all of the things rolling for that. And then the pandemic happened in 2020. And I did not get to start. Yeah, I did not get to start my dream. And I thought, oh shit, now what? So then I had to put that on hold for a bit. And when I got to go back to working, I moved into a different office and I thought this is actually a perfect time to start a new business because I can reinvent myself. And so I started doing myofascial release. And then I quickly realized I don't know how to do myofascial release or talk about it or get clients or anything. So then it was just kind of people were interested. I don't know how they found me. I had the worst website. I had nothing going for me at that point. And then I would get clients and they would never come back. But I still had massage to hold me through because I was still doing like regular massage. And then I found your book. And so I read that and I started coaching with you because I knew I needed help. Like there would be no way I could make a myofascial release business when I didn't even know how to talk about it. And I didn't even know what the benefits were other than like, this is great stuff and you're going to be amazed and your body's going to be perfect after, but I didn't know how to convey that.
Yeah.
So,
How many seminars had you had by that point? From when you had found MFR to when you were like, I'm an MFR therapist, I'm starting an MFR business.
I had 4 classes, like
Okay.
3 classes and maybe my skill enhancement.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I had
that's pretty good. I feel like that's right on time. And usually the shift from I'm just learning this to oh, I can't unlearn this material. I can't knowingly, willingly continue to give massages, knowing what I know.
right.
But
Absolutely. I was pretty much like after the first class that I thought that, but I knew I needed more knowledge because I knew there was more to treat than just than what I
Mhm.
knew, but I didn't know I didn't know how to talk about it. And I didn't
Mhm.
no one they don't teach you that stuff, the business aspect in seminars, and that's what I really needed to know was all the businessy stuff. So I
Mhm.
already had my own business. I just didn't know how to transition and to shift and yeah, talk about this amazing thing.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your business like now that you've been at this for a while?
Yeah, so we coached for about a year, I think,
Mhm.
and a lot changed in that year, like while coaching. That was amazing. But I've been out of coaching for about a year now, I guess.
Mhm.
Gosh, time is
Yeah.
just going
I
so
fell.
fast.
Yeah.
And it's been really good. This year, I I'm doing great. I'm like booked out 4 or 5 weeks in advance, which was like one of my goals when I first started coaching. Like for some reason, that was like a huge goal. Is like, oh, I better be booked out a month because if I'm booked out a month, then like I'm
I
doing
don't have
something
to,
right.
yeah, I can relax if I'm booked out a month.
That doesn't really happen, but
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been great. I've been able to apply all of these things that we've like learned in coaching to my practice, and it helps me to um I use the same techniques when I'm like trying to make a decision for the future. Like I don't spin out of control thinking like, oh, I got to overthink this a million times. I just make decisions, and if they don't work, then I just make a different decision. So it took a lot of pressure off myself.
Yeah, that's so good. One of my favorite stories that you came to me with in coaching was the time when you had gone to your accountant and you kind of like told him your plan. And he was like, you are going to burn your business down. And you came back and you told me that. And I was like, oh shit, like this is getting serious.
It's funny because I had a conversation with him on Friday, and he's like, I have a lot of words that I have to eat from telling you were going to ruin your business. I didn't think you could really do it.
Yeah. I'm so glad you didn't listen to him or like make that mean that he had any insider knowledge over how it was going to turn out. Do you
I
remember like
almost did.
I know you were really freaked out. I had to talk you down. I was like, listen. I was so mad. I was so mad.
It
But
all
I was
worked out.
trying to like professionally coach you, right? Like I was trying to be professional and I was like,
No,
can't
it's
wait
great.
for him to eat his words. I'm glad he brought it up actually. I'm surprised.
He brings it up quite often.
That's so funny. He's probably kind of a little bit horrified and also like super glad for you because I mean,
Yeah, it
we
benefits
want
him too.
it benefits him too. Okay, so do you remember how much money you were making at that point when he said that to you?
Uh, well, if it was in like, I think in 2020, I made like
Mhm.
$42,000, a
Which
little
is
bit
not
over.
so bad. Like it was 2020.
Yeah. And in 2021, I raised my rates a couple months into the year. So I probably wasn't making hardly any money in the beginning of 2021, and it wasn't until I changed my rates that I did. So
Mhm.
I made like $68,000, a little bit over $68,000 in 2021. So that was like during coaching. So that
Mhm.
was exciting.
Yeah. Okay. And then how did 2022 work out for you?
2022, I made a little bit over 74,000.
That's
That was,
amazing.
yeah, and I took a lot of time off of work with my mom passing away,
Mhm.
and I went down to 4 days a week and only 16 hours a week for clients. So
Mhm.
before I just like worked whenever,
Mhm.
however many people I could see. There was not
Yeah.
really a rhyme or
Because there was a
reason.
piece of you that didn't really quite believe that you could work a schedule that you want. Like you still need to be really working hard just in
Yeah.
case. Like, what if it didn't work out? Right. There was still some of that going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now when I make a decision, I always think of like you talking about like you're going to find the clients that think that your decision is the best decision ever. So it's
Yeah.
like that's how I judge my new decisions off of,
Yeah.
like you're going to make great clients. They're going to find you based on this decision. So
Mhm.
that's how I that's how I roll now.
I love that. And I love that you were able to take time off, take care of yourself. Like you had a lot of stuff to handle with your mom's
Yeah.
death and like you still made more money than ever
Yeah. And
and
working less.
working less. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And now it's 2023.
Hmm.
You're partway into the year. How are things looking for you right now?
So they're pretty good. I actually pulled the numbers before this call, and so far I've made a little bit over $40,000 this year, and I'm on track to make 100 if for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of funny because I was looking at like the rest of this month, which we don't have many days left, but I should finish this from January to May with almost $43,000, which is how much I made in all of 2020.
Yeah.
That's like that was kind of cool when I saw that. I was like, wow, that's
That's
awesome.
really great and such a
Yeah.
fun thing to celebrate and be like, I just made in half, not even half the year, right? Like we're not even 6 months in,
Yeah.
and you've made what you made all of one year, and you're probably working pretty hard, probably hustling pretty much to make that money, seeing
Yeah.
clients you don't like, working when you don't want to work.
Yeah.
You don't work on weekends anymore?
No.
I love it so
Yeah.
much. You guys, you
Yeah.
don't have to work on weekends and you can still have 100K a year. I love knowing that you're on track for that 6 figures. How do you feel knowing now like this is basically inevitable? Like whether it takes you 12 months or 13 months, like you're gonna hit it.
Yeah, so it's cool to me to think about the stuff that you would talk about in coaching that I was like, yeah, okay, that's cool. It'll probably happen, but it probably is going to happen for someone else. But now it's like, no, this is happening for me. And I think all of the things that I wanted to happen, I was so worried about them happening like while I was in coaching. And it's like,
Oh,
it's
like there
fine.
was like this pressure to make it happen like right then and there versus like,
Yeah.
we're gonna lay down this foundation. It's like the little engine that could, and it's gonna like keep chugging you up that hill. It's gonna keep chugging.
Yeah, like the coaching year wasn't the only year I'm going to be working. Like I'm working on this for like long-term success. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to think like I created all of this and it's still going and it just,
It's
it just
still
goes.
just the beginning too.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Do you ever look back at like who you were in 2021 when like when you read the book and you made these decisions, like she she created this outcome for you now? Like that's pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great because I am able to make decisions like so much easier without the fear of the what ifs or like, so many things that go into making decisions and now it's just like it doesn't matter. Just
Yeah,
do it.
because you just
It's
make
fine.
the next best decision.
Yeah. Yeah. We put
And you
so much
have,
pressure on ourselves to like
yeah.
perform and to do all this stuff and now
Oh,
it's like, oh,
geez.
that wasn't that bad.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to do things that are uncomfortable, like, and you know, screw around with things and figure it out as you go. And
Yeah.
some things you like, some things you don't like. I think we messed around with like your rates. We messed around with like which days of the week you were going to work. We messed around with your policies, right? And like eventually you just found what worked for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not so hard. Doesn't have to be hard. I think that's one other thing too, is like things don't have to be complicated. We're going to want to make them complicated. They're going to it's going to seem very dangerous to raise your rates. Like even your accountant is going to think they have an opinion on your business, right?
Right.
I want to send that guy a card in the mail. I think when you hit 100K, just let me know.
He would love that.
Probably would, right? I mean, I think
Uh-huh.
it's great. I think it's the part where that happened too, just to go back to it, because it bothers me, obviously. The part where like you trusted me and you trusted yourself and also like we're able to still work with him. Like ultimately, I think he had your best intention, the
Yeah.
best intentions. But it's just super funny. I'm so glad that didn't sidetrack you. Some people that would sidetrack, like they'd just be like, oh, this isn't for me. It's not, this is very dangerous. Even this professional over here is telling me.
Yeah.
Do you think it helped that like I had had an MFR business and I had had like I'm an MFR therapist? Like, do you think that's what helped you to trust me, or what do you think it was?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we talked about like what your rates were and like your schedule. And I'm like, well, she did it. So why can't I do it? And it's not the end of the world. Like if it doesn't work out, I can make a different decision.
Yeah.
I I just like I knew that what I was doing wasn't bringing in enough income anyway. So I needed to do something. So I had to do something or I would probably be out of business at this point. There would be no way I
Mhm.
could support myself
Yeah.
without changing my rates. So and I don't have another income. I'm single, so I have to support myself. So
Mhm. And you wanted to. I think that was
yeah.
really clear. And I think making these bigger zoomed out decisions based on what you need and what you want. And it's like, okay, so you make those bigger decisions and then you make all of the littler decisions that get you to like where you're right, like in your day to day that create the outcome that you want. But sometimes it's hard to do that when you don't know what you want. And so a lot of the time we spend in coaching is like, what do you want to make? What do you need to make? And how many hours do you really want to be working in this? And how many hours do you want to be screwing around doing fun stuff, right? Or other things in your life.
Mhm.
So how much free space have you cleared out for yourself? And like, what are some of the hobbies you have now that you didn't have back when you were working so much?
Yeah, so now I just have more flexibility in my schedule because it's structured, which sounds crazy, but because I know when I'm working and it's not just like, well, I'll go in all day and hopefully people book in. I
Mhm.
know when I'm going to work, so I can plan my days around that, and it makes life easier to plan other things. So I take off more time, I travel. Um, yeah, I just
I mean, I've been following you on Instagram. Like I've seen you out on like massive bike rides. Like, didn't you
yeah,
like ride all through New York?
I did. Yep, I was in New York City for a bike ride. Yep, I took
Yeah.
off time, and it's so funny because I took off the entire week, and I came back on a Monday, and I had to work on Tuesday, and I was like, "Oh, I have to go back to work on Tuesday. I can't take a day off." And it's like, I kicked myself in my butt because afterwards I'm like, I could take that day off. I just chose
Yeah.
not
I
to.
could take a whole week off and one more day. It would be
Right.
okay.
Right. So it's like, see, we still go back into these old the old thoughts. So I have
Yeah.
another trip planned in July, and I went in my schedule and I was like, I'm going to take an extra day off after travel because I can.
Yeah, and because you want to, and I
Yeah.
think too, like looking at your schedule and being like, how do I make this like really luxurious for me? How do I want to experience me coming back from this trip? Because
Yeah.
travel can be very stressful and
Yeah.
very exhausting,
Exactly.
and you don't have to experience it that way. So I think
Yeah.
that's super smart. And for anyone that's like watching us, listening to us, try to look for ways in your schedule where you can make it more fun and juicy and delicious so that you love everything you do. It doesn't always have to be a grind, and you're not obligated to feel like shit in order to be successful. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be hard in order for it to be good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's one thing we worked on a lot in coaching too, though, was like things could be easy and how like scary it is when it's easy, and how it's easy to be like, is something going to go wrong? Am I waiting for the other shoe to drop?
Yeah.
And just really leaning into life being 50-50, and it's like gonna life all the time. Like no matter how good you're doing or how easy it is, like other shit's gonna happen. No matter how shitty it is, like you can still do good in your business. Like it's not tied to one or the other. Things are not so black and white.
Yeah. For sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the latest seminar you've been to?
I just repeated unwinding for the second time.
Okay.
So yeah, I went there, and then I went to New York right after. I was in Chicago and then I went to New York. So it's
Amazing.
all
You're just
over the
like
place.
a national traveler. Uh, how many seminars have you taken now since you started coaching?
Oh, I've taken almost all of them. I'll be taking MFR 3 in October.
Very
And
cool.
yeah, so my
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. I'm super excited. I really my goal in coaching was to eventually have a T for T, and to take more seminars so I could take 3, and um, yeah, I've done it, so it's great.
That gives me goosebumps because that's so
Yeah.
exciting.
Hmm.
What do you think now about your skill level and your ability to give MFR to your clients now that you've had so much more experience, like hands-on experience from being fully booked and from going to so many more seminars?
Yeah, I don't struggle with the confidence like I did. I used to really get in my head about, can I treat this? I don't know what this is. Can I actually help people? But now that I've done more seminars and had a lot of work done, and the T for T was really helpful too. That really helped me realize like I know what I'm doing because I
Mhm.
got to be treated by great therapists, and it's like I am a great therapist. So
I love that.
it was cool to have that experience, and now I know that people are going to get better, and I know that I can help them. I don't know when all the time. That doesn't It's not always up to me to know when that will happen, but
Mhm.
I know that they will see changes, and the proof is in the work. People have the most amazing transformations that I couldn't have predicted all the
Yeah.
time. It's
Yeah.
like, wow.
That's what's
So,
so fun about what we do, right? And the
yeah.
part where, and I want this for every MFR therapist, where you just have the confidence that you can treat anything that walks into your room and that you know what you're doing. because I don't think every MFR therapist feels that way, but it's a damn shame, because when you have that thought, I can treat anybody that walks into my room. I know what I'm doing. I can make a difference. People get results. You're going to show up differently than that's like, I'm not sure what to do. I'm afraid. I don't know if I can get you better, and people want to buy it from the therapist that's like, I've got you. Right.
Yeah.
But that you're not faking that. You're not faking it till you make it. Like, you actually genuinely believe it. And you hold the belief for those clients that are just like, not sure if I can get better or not. Right. Like, you just decide that you're going to help them. So
Yeah.
how do you feel your confidence level is now in talking about MFR and talking about like the results of MFR so that your clients want to buy it from you? Is that an easier conversation now?
So much easier. That's where I really struggled was, the deer in headlights when people would ask me, can I help them? Like,
Mhm.
I think so.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Why are
I
you
don't know.
asking me?
Yeah, I don't know. And I didn't know what to talk about and like how to talk about it to people that made sense, because I would start going into all the scientific stuff and their eyes would glaze over and they're like, uh-huh, okay, yeah. And and it's like, I think I'm talking about it. I don't know. And so now it just all the garbage is out of my head. So I kind of honestly I really just say less. Less is more. So
Mhm.
that you taught us how to talk about it. Um, and then I've kind of just like taken my own, you create your own way to talk about it, but sometimes I
Exactly.
just let the work speak for itself. And I find when I hear myself over talking with certain people, then I get that glazed over look and I'm like, I gotta stop talking. Let's just let the work do itself. The work's gonna
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So
And I think it's easy to slip in and out of like convincing people or being a little bit like um dependent on them liking you or liking what you're saying or being bought in, right? And it's like, oh, I'm trying to get this person to buy in, but I really just need to let the work speak for itself. So
yeah,
that's such a good catch. And I'm sure you're so good at catching yourself that and it doesn't even matter. It's like, oh, oops,
it doesn't.
not gonna do that again. Yeah.
But we do slip back into stuff. So I think about like, oh, what would Heather say? You're still
That's
in my
funny.
brain all the time.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
You'll never shake me. I'm just haunting you over there. Funny. Oh my gosh. Well, what would you say? Like, what did you think you were going to get out of coaching? And like, what was one of the benefits that you got that you had no idea you would get?
I thought I was going to get like a blueprint for coaching that you would just tell me what to do in my business
Mhm.
and how to do it. And then everything was just going to be fine. And it was really hard for me to like think I was just like going to give you the keys to the business and you were going to do all the stuff and that I wasn't going to actually be part of it. And so that made me a little uncomfortable, but I really learned how to make my own decisions and like what feels juicy for me and what feels authentic. So, and that
Mhm.
looks different as every month it looks different. I know every day is different. So, but I get to decide. And so that's been the coolest part of just making my own choices and knowing that they're right no matter what for my choices. So, yeah.
Yeah. I just love how badass like that answer is. It's like, I get to make the choices. This is my thing. It never mattered what I told you. Like, it was never create a Heather Hommel myofascial release business. It's like, create a Rachel Pecora MFR business because your clients want Rachel. They
Yeah.
100% want you. And that's the business you need to create. Like, it's not about pumping out robotic MFR therapists that just copy paste the same thing. And we're just tracking KPIs to try to see how successful we are. How many likes did we get on that post? Nobody gives a shit. What we want to know is like, can you help people? Can you clearly explain what it is that you do? And can you back up that you can do that based on the skills that you're able to afford to go and get more and more skills because of the business you've created. And I think that's super important too. And also, I think one of my biggest flexes, if this is even like the right way to say it, is that so many people that go through my program are also the people that go to so many seminars because they can afford it. They're going to T for T, they're going to skill enhancement, and they have a regular practice of getting myofascial release on a weekly or monthly or biweekly basis, and they are a product of their product.
Yep.
That makes me so proud. And I just love knowing that you're one of those ones that's out there walking around practicing what you preach.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to put anyone down that hasn't been through coaching, but when I go to seminars and I see people having the same questions that I had, I really feel for them. It's like
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be difficult. And these are seasoned therapists too. And just like get some coaching. It'll make your life so much better, and
Yeah.
there was even I was in Chicago doing unwinding, and someone asked how to charge for MFR, and they were given an answer, and I said, you need to double that. And
Yeah.
they were just like, that's impossible. Like,
Right.
it's not.
You don't know my circumstances, right? Like, yeah. I
Right,
mean,
right.
I
We all
hear it
have the same
all.
thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like you need someone to help like corral those thoughts and let you know that like you can make decisions and it doesn't have to be based on like what someone else thinks it should be.
Yeah, and you don't have to wait for someone else to give you permission to do the things that you want. Sometimes it's just, I think, most of the time, we just don't know what we want because we never ask ourselves.
Yeah, I think you taught me that like that was a big part of coaching with you is learning what I want and that I don't need someone to validate my decisions because that was a huge thing for me is I
Mhm.
always needed to check in with somebody, make sure like, should I do this? Do you think this is good? Because this is
Mhm.
what I think. And then whatever they would say is how I would maybe judge my, what I was
Yeah.
actually going to do. And now it's like, I'm going to do this. Doesn't
Yeah, and
matter.
I'm not even gonna ask anybody. I do that too, and I think that's a huge win. Like, it's one of those, like, untangible things that you, like, haven't you do it a bunch and then you're like, "Oh my gosh, I learned that from this this thing. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm saving so much time not asking people." I used to,
Yeah.
like, apologize for myself everywhere I went, and then the same thing with decisions, like, I'd have to call my mom, I'd have to call my sister, I'd have to call my friend, and I would get 3 or 4 different answers, so I'd be more confused than ever.
Yep.
And then I would be like resentful of them and resentful that I couldn't make a decision. It was just a
Yep.
mess. I never
It
do that anymore. Like, I
I don't
barely ever ask somebody else's opinion on what I do. It creates
Yep,
so much free time.
it does.
So
It
you can
really
just
does.
and it speeds everything up. Like, you just
Yeah,
get things accomplished even faster. Yeah.
absolutely. I make decisions all the time, and then a lot of times people are like, "Wait a minute, what happened? You didn't tell me
Mhm.
about that." Oh yeah, I just kept going.
Mhm. Yeah. That's so good. I'm just making myself a note. I think I can make an email around that. That's so good. All of my clients are so inspiring to help me like create content and to like come up with new ideas, and it really is, it's like the things that you tell me that you learn from me, like then I can relate that to someone else and be like, you're probably having this problem too, like let's alleviate this problem. Let's no longer make seminars responsible for business decisions. Let's just be there to learn the tools, and everybody come to me to learn the business stuff and like learn it in a group of myofascial release therapists.
Yeah.
What do you think about like being in a group of therapists going through coaching? Because you've had both experiences, one-on-one and in a group. What do you think about those two different experiences?
It's good to hear other people's struggles because a lot of them are the same struggles that you have or um a struggle that you may have in the future that you haven't reached that level of struggle yet, but you know
Mhm.
that like one day I'll have that same problem. Like when I'm fully booked, how will I manage that struggle? Because that comes with its own set of thoughts and beliefs around that. So, but when you're just starting out, like that's so far away that you're like, oh, I'll just deal with that later. So it's nice to like hear the problems that others are going through because eventually that's going to be something you need to deal with
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
And it can be the same level of problem because we all have the same thoughts and beliefs around our ability to treat and the problems that we have. We think it's unique to us, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's the same problem.
Yeah. I think that
So
is like kind of validating. It creates safety to be like, oh,
yeah,
I'm not the only one that struggles with this idea that I suck or that I'm scared to tell this person I can help them.
yeah,
All the little
yeah.
micro details. Yeah. So good.
Yeah. And it's also helpful to see how they work through it because everyone thinks of things differently and their resolution to get to those things are also going to be different. So it's helpful to see how people work through decisions or problems. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh, maybe I should think of it that way.
Mhm. So speaking of fully booked, you're fully booked now for weeks and weeks out. And I think before we started recording, you had mentioned like, oh, I thought I would get here. And then all of a sudden my business would become easy. Right.
Yeah,
It's like, I think people think I'm going to hit 100K and then all of a sudden I'm going to have all of the money in the world and no problems. It's just like not what happens. Right.
no,
So
no.
what did you think being fully booked would feel like and how, like, what are some of the issues or what would be the hardest part for you of being fully booked, do you think?
I thought it would feel like I've arrived, like I've made it, like I'm doing the right stuff. Like people want MFR if I'm fully booked, and that's great and all, but that's not really what ends up happening. And that is part of the feeling, I guess, that I get. Like, oh great, people really like this, but then it adds stress of like, well, I can't get you in, but you need to come in. Like, I wish you could come back next week, but I don't have anything for 5, 6 weeks, so sorry.
Yeah, like being okay with letting people down or being okay with
Yeah.
saying no or not or choosing not to overwork to get people in because that's a really sticky one for people.
Yeah, that can be easy to do, and I have to train myself. I have to like really check myself on that of like not wanting to make it comfortable for everyone and like, well, I got to do this so that they can get in. It's like it's not an
Or they're
emergency.
gonna leave, or I'm gonna lose the money, right? Because
Right.
all those human thoughts that
Yeah.
occur that can keep you people pleasing or just like keep you believing that things aren't gonna work out. Like,
Right.
oh, this is I think another like tricky thought that comes up when you're fully booked is like this could all go away tomorrow, or this is
I
just a fluke.
Yep. It's easy to believe that too when you're, like when you're in it, especially when it's first starting. You're like, "Oh, this isn't really happening."
Very dangerous. And then we self-sabotage or we like purposefully, we unconsciously do things that
Yeah.
make the schedule go down. Yeah. It's
Yep.
crazy.
And then I realized like there have been a few times where added an extra day on because I was out of town or I wanted to like work extra time. And then I don't actually want to work the extra time. So then people end up canceling. And so I'll end up only with the amount of people I wanted to see in anyway. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I went through all this stress in my brain. And so I stopped doing that. I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, let yourself off the hook. Or if
Yeah.
you're gonna plan to work more way in advance.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
you're making the decision from a different place versus like, oh, I have to do this because
Right.
I need to hit a money goal.
Right. But like when that day actually comes, you don't want to be there. So then you kind of resent it and it's just like a whole thing. So
Mhm. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. Not working and resenting is a huge flex too. Like never resenting when you're there, only being there during the times that you want to work. And it really is easy. You don't have to work Saturdays. You don't have to work till 8 p.m. You just don't.
yeah.
What are the
I spent
hours that you see people? Like, what is your schedule usually?
I
Just
have
curious.
2 days where I work until 6 is my latest day, and
Okay.
then 2 days where I work until 3. So I have 2 afternoon days and 2 morning days, and
I just love that.
it's good for both. I
Yeah.
like to have my morning, but it's also nice to have afternoons to do stuff too. So it feels like a good balance, and it works out. The clients, when I make my schedule, I get clients that love that schedule. So I
Yeah.
don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah, because didn't you used to work till 8 o'clock at night sometimes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
How
every
nice
night.
is it not to work till 8 o'clock at night?
Yeah, and here's the thing, but most people don't know, but probably coming in the winter or fall months, I won't be working in the evening anymore at all because I can't see in the dark anymore.
Yeah, that's
So
good to
I
know.
can't drive, and so I won't be able to drive at night, and we get dark in the winter early.
Mhm.
So I think my schedule will have to change.
I think that
So
that's totally fine and
yeah,
great. I mean, I used to work until 3 o'clock. Like I would be done by 3 o'clock every day and just is what it is. I was fully booked.
yeah,
Didn't matter. You just have to make the decision. And especially if it's like for your safety. I mean, that seems
sure,
like a great reason to not do it. And if
right,
you only work like 8 to 1 or 8 to 2 or whatever, or 10 to 2, that's
yep,
amazing. People will
yep,
fill your schedule. Like
yep,
you are an in-demand therapist, which I know you have that thought about yourself. I have that
Yep.
thought about you too. And for anyone listening or watching, you can just adopt that thought for yourself. Like, I'm an in-demand therapist. People will come whenever I'm open.
Yep.
And we had to work on that a little bit, right? Because it took you a while to get your schedule buttoned up.
Oh yeah. Even if you would have asked me last year if I thought by the end of this year I'd be working what I planned to work, I would be like, you're crazy. That's not going to happen. But like now that I need to do it because I've been toying around with going through this last winter of like, yeah, I actually can't drive at night, like
Mhm.
hardly at all.
Mhm.
So it's just like not a problem. Like I have to do this. Like, so what?
Yeah, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah,
You're
it's
either with
fine.
me or you're not. Yeah, I'll find enough patience now. Like,
Yeah.
it
There's
also,
probably more people that want to come in the morning.
right?
I
Yeah.
don't even know yet.
Right. Well, and you just create kind of this snowball effect. Like, the longer you're in business, the longer you do this, the more you increase your confidence and your ability to sell and talk about MFR. Like, you just can't stop people from coming. I mean, I've been closed for 3 years and I still weekly get new patient phone calls.
That's
Weekly.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
That's
awesome.
a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I am not even open anymore. People call me from the directory even and want
Oh,
referrals. And I'm just like, that's great. It's crazy to me. I mean, it's
yeah.
great. I could just reopen at any time, but I'm too busy helping MFR therapists to help other people. So,
Yeah.
and
We need
soon,
it.
could someone move to La Crosse, Wisconsin and take over my old practice? Anybody, please call me. There is a huge base of fans of MFR here. So yeah, I've even had old clients contact me a week ago and they're like, so are you thinking about coming back? It's very hard to say no because, I love MFR so much. Yeah, it's weird not doing it hands-on, but I feel like all I do is talk about MFR and promote MFR all day, every day. So that gives me enough to go on.
Yeah.
I'll be all
Yeah.
right.
We need you out there. So you're doing a good
All
job.
right. Thanks. Thank you so much. Well, is there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up? Do you want to talk about like your podcast or your how people can find you?
Yeah. So I'm Northeast Ohio Myofascial Release. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I do have a podcast. It's called Return to Ease. And it's listed on my website. So it's at neomyofascialrelease.com. Find
Awesome.
it
Yeah,
there.
go find her podcast. It's really great. There's lots of episodes to keep you entertained for quite a while.
Quite a while. Yep.
Yeah. You're doing a good job. It's so
Thank
fun
you.
to catch up with you. I really appreciate you continuing to share your journey with coaching and your journey with your business from start to wherever it goes. Please do not hesitate to tell me when you hit the 100K mark. We're going to celebrate you.
Of course.
So it's just so fun. I'm so proud of you and so proud to be your coach. And just,
Thank you.
yeah, I'll be watching you.
I love talking about money wins. So
I do
makes
too.
me
So that's
excited.
don't you think that's another side effect for coaching? Did you always like talking about money or
No, I hated it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
hated it. It scared me.
I
It was
love
like the
how
secret.
I know it's, did you know
Yeah.
I'm financially successful? I love how people come on these episodes and they have their numbers ready, they're ready to share. And I am like very proud of that because more people do that. Like, it just takes away a lot of the weirdness around money. And the more money people have, like the more resource we become, the better the world. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
I
good
like
goals
to,
to it's a good goal to reach towards if it's not the goal that you've hit yet and you hear someone else making a certain amount, you're like, wow, I want to try to get to that too.
yeah, like whoever knew that was possible, right? Like, I remember deciding this is what I was going to help people do. And I didn't even know it was possible for myself, right? Until like someone asked me, like, well, how much do you want to make? And I was like, if I could make $100,000, it would literally change my life. But that seems really dangerous. And
Yeah.
like now that's just what I do all day. Like, that's just what we do. And it doesn't matter if you go through coaching and it takes you 1 or 2, or maybe in the third year you hit 100K. The thing is like you've created the foundation to do it and you've collapsed the time and you're doing it. So you're never going to be sad knowing how to do that and then doing it every year after that, probably plus more, like until you're done with your business. So
Yeah.
kind of a big deal. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So good. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining us on another Minisode audio video episode of the MFR Coaches Podcast. We'll be back with more soon. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.